One evening, a family takes their frail elderly mother to a nursing home, hoping she will be well cared for. The next morning, the nurses bathe her, feed her a tasty breakfast, and set her in a chair at a window overlooking a lovely flower garden. She seems okay, but after a while she slowly starts to lean over sideways in her chair. Two attentive nurses immediately rush up to catch her and straighten her up. Again, she seems okay, but after a while she starts to tilt to the other side. The nurses rush back and once more bring her back upright. This goes on all morning. Later, the family arrives to see how the old woman is adjusting to her new home. "So, Ma, how is it here? Are they treating you all right?" they ask. "It's pretty nice," she replies, "except they won't let you fart." A man absolutely hated his wife's cat and decided to get rid of him one day by driving him 20 blocks from his home and leaving him at the park. As he was getting home, the cat was walking up the driveway. The next day, he decided to drive the cat 40 blocks away. He put the beast out and headed home. Driving back up his driveway, there was the cat. He kept taking the cat further and further, and the cat would always beat him home. At last, he decided to drive a few miles away, turn right, then left, past the bridge, then right again and another right, until he reached what he thought was a safe distance from his home and left the cat. 80 hours later, the man calls home to his wife. "Jen, is the cat there?" "Yes," the wife answers. "Why do you ask?" Frustrated, the man answered, "Put him on the phone. I'm lost and need directions." Bob, a 65-year-old, extremely wealthy widower, shows up at the country club with a breathtakingly beautiful 25-year-old blonde. She proceeds to knock everyone's socks off with her youthful appeal and charm. She also hangs on Bob's arm and listens intently to his every word. His buddies at the club are all aghast. They corner him and ask, "Bob, how'd you get the trophy girlfriend?" Bob replies, "Girlfriend? She's my wife." They're knocked over, but continue to ask, "So how'd you persuade her to marry you?" Bob says, "I lied about my age." His friends respond, "What, did you tell her you were only 50? Bob smiles and says, "No, I told her I was 90. Charlie, a new retiree greeter at Walmart, just couldn't seem to get to work on time. Every day he was 5, 10, 15 minutes late. But he was a good worker, really, tidy, clean-shaven, sharp-minded, and a real credit to the company, and obviously demonstrating their older person-friendly policies. One day, the boss called him into the office for a talk. "Charlie, I have to tell you, I like your work ethic. You do a bang-up job when you finally get here. But your being late so often is quite bothersome." "Yes, I know, boss, and I am working on it." "Well, good, you are a team player. That's what I like to hear." "Yes, sir, I understand your concern. I will try harder." Seeming puzzled, the manager went on to comment, "I know you're retired from the armed forces. What did they say to you there if you showed up in the morning late so often?" The old man looked down at the floor, then smiled. He chuckled quietly, then said with a grin they usually saluted and said, "Good morning, Admiral. Can I get your coffee, sir?" Swan comes up to the Mexican border on his bicycle. He has 2 large bags over his shoulders. The guard stops him and says, "What's in the bag?" "Sand," answered Juan. The guard says, "We'll just see about that." Get off the bike. The guard takes the bags and rips them apart. He empties them out and finds nothing in them but sand. He detains Juan overnight and has the sand analyzed, only to discover that there is nothing but pure sand in the bags. The guard releases Juan, puts the sand into new bags, hefts them onto the man's shoulders, and lets him cross the border. A week later, the same thing happens. The guard asks, "What have you got?" "Sand," says Juan. The guard does his thorough examination and discovers that the bags contain nothing but sand. He gives the sand back to Juan, and Juan crosses the border on his bicycle. This sequence of events is repeated every day for 3 years. Finally, Juan doesn't show up one day, and the guard meets him in a cantina in Mexico. "Hey, but," says the guard, "I know you are smuggling something. It's driving me crazy. It's all I think about. I can't sleep. Just between you and me, what are you smuggling?" Juan sips his beer and says, "Bicycle." A man walks into a bar and orders a drink. The bartender gives the man his drink, and the man asks, "If I show you something crazy, would you let me have free drinks for the rest of the night?" The bartender thinks for a minute, and then says it would have to be something spectacular to take that offer. The man leans down and picks up a box and sets it on the bar. He opens the box, and inside is a small piano man, who is only 1 foot tall, and a little piano. The piano man starts playing classical music like Beethoven and Chopin. Once he finishes, the bartender is in utter disbelief. He tells the man, "You can have free drinks for the rest of the night, but only if you tell where you got this." The man says, "In the alleyway behind your bar, there is a genie who is granting free wishes to everyone who wants them. The bartender heads behind his bar to see if it was true. A few minutes pass, and out of the alleyway erupts a cacophony of quacking. The bartender rushes back into the bar and shuts his door against a wave of thousands of ducks. He manages to secure the door and says to the man, "I think that the genie is hard of hearing because after I asked for $1 million, these ducks appeared by the man chuckles and says, 'Did you really think I wished for a 12-inch pianist?'" There once was a girl who wasn't feeling very pretty, so she went to a genie to make her pretty. The genie told her that to make her feel pretty, he would make it so that every time someone apologized to her, boobs would increase by 1 size. So the girl is walking down the street and someone bumps into her and says, "Oh, I'm sorry," and the woman's boobs went up 1 size. Then someone accidentally stepped on her foot and said, "I'm sorry," and her boobs got 1 size bigger. Then she's walking down the street and a man from India bumps into her and says, "Oh my God, 1,000 apologies." An aspiring young lawyer was sitting in her office late one night when Satan appeared before her. The devil told the lawyer, "I have a proposition for you. You can win every case you try for the rest of your life. Your clients will adore you, your colleagues will stand in awe of you, and you will make embarrassing sums of money. All I want in exchange is your husband's soul, your children's souls, the souls of your parents, grandparents, and the souls of all your friends and law partners." The lawyer ponders this for a moment, then finally asks, "So what's the catch?" Love grew to hate her name, it being a frequent cause of mockery and bullying. Finally, she can't take it anymore and gets a gun. Not knowing that her mother is the one who named her, she shoots her father in the chest, then leaves. When the mother arrives home, she is horrified to find her husband dying of a gunshot wound to the chest, lying in a pool of his own blood. She runs up to him and asks, "Honey, are you okay? What happened?" The man groans, takes a breath, and coughs, "Shot through the heart, and you're to blame. You gave love a bad name." Mr. Jones drove his secretary home. After she had had a little too much to drink at their New Year's office party, she was so drunk. Although nothing happened, he decided not to mention it to his wife, who was an insanely jealous and suspicious woman. Later that night, Mr. Jones and his wife were in the car when he spotted a high-heeled shoe under the passenger seat. While his wife wasn't looking, he picked up the shoe and tossed it out of his window. Later, as they got out of the car, his wife asked, "Honey, have you seen my other shoe?" Mrs. Marwitz was walking along the beach with her grandson when suddenly a wave came and washed the 3-year-old boy out to sea. "Oh, Lord," cried the women, "if you will just bring that boy back alive, I'll do anything. I'll be the best person. I'll give to charity. I'll go to temple. Please, God, send him back." At that moment, a wave washed the child back up on the sand, safe and sound. His grandmother looked at the boy and then up to the heavens. "Okay," she exclaimed, "so where's his hat?"